Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us, Natalia. We're here today talking with Gregory Wilson of the University of Georgia about the Thinc-a-thon events that he has been hosting. So, Gregory, let's go ahead and get started. And if you could just describe to us the first Thinc-a-thon you ever held, kind of how it came about and where the idea stems from.
Okay. So the first Thinkathon was held in March of this year, and it came about. The inspiration was actually when I was doing my landscape analysis as a fellow. I found that there weren't a lot of events that brought people from various majors together. Getting engineers and business students and art students and design students together to create something. So from there, I wanted to create, not necessarily a hackathon where people just get together and make stuff, but actually um, have a topic or a challenge for students to work on, and then they spend the whole day working on it and presenting them. IDEO, the design company, actually calls them make-a-thons, and they had done a couple of them, and so I wanted to kind of try it out here and see how it works. The reason why it's called a Thinkathon is that we have an initiative here called Think, THINC, at UGA, which seeks to promote entrepreneurship and innovation on campus. And it's just a week where there are like competitions and speakers that come in. And this comes out of the Office of Vice President of Research, and they wanted to expand Think beyond just the 1 week. So I pitched this event to them, said I could call it, Thinkathon to kind of correlate with Think at UGA, and they, liked the idea and more importantly, provided the funding for me to be able to do it.
That's awesome. And just so you said March you mean of the 2014, this past March?
Yes.
Awesome.
So,
keep going.
Oh, so with the first one, the topic was redesigning the home.
Oh, cool.
I just kind of chose that just as just as a starter. I actually sent out a survey beforehand to students with a variety of topics to see, which one they would be interested in, and that was actually one of the highest ones. So I decided to go with that. And so with each challenge, they're open, so that students can go in any kind of direction that they want. And so the home could be, a house, it could be an apartment, it could be a dorm room. And the goal was just to make the home more efficient or fun, or to be in. And there was maybe very so we had 11 students. So we wound up getting into like 3 teams, and they some of the different projects was one team created a smart refrigerator, so like it could know what was in your refrigerator and like give you ideas of things to make based off of what was in your refrigerator.
Awesome.
So the second project was a floor that by walking on it, you could generate energy and then use that energy in other parts of the house. And the third project was kind of like a smart lighting system where it would only light up the part of the room that you're using. And then as you move to other parts of the room, it would give you the correct amount of lighting to kind of save on your energy bill. And
those are some...
yeah, I could say, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, those were some really cool ideas that came out of redesigning a home project. I was going to ask you I lost you a minute when you were talking about how you had originally sent out a little bit of a survey to discuss or get some student ideas and input on what the topic would be. Could you just repeat that?
Yeah, so through our innovation club that I helped started, there were students who were like interested in this, doing this type of event. And so rather than just choosing a topic out of nowhere, I had some ideas, redesigning transportation, redesigning the shopping experience, and redesigning the home were some of the choices. And so when I sent out the survey, asking them to pick which ones they would be interested in, redesigning the home was, one of the top ones. So that's how I decided to go with that one.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for repeating that. So in approaching this second Thinc-a-thon, how did you go about a survey in the same way that you did to discuss the topic of this one about redesigning the student experience at UGA?
No, this one I actually did just choose based off of what I felt would be most relatable to students. And so I really had a goal of increasing participation. And so one of the ways, was to do something that could be immediately, relatable to students that participate, no matter what major that they came from. And so I thought, redesigning the student experience, everyone has ideas on different things that can improve the campus. And actually, last year, me and a couple of people who are part of the Innovation Club, we set up a big poster board in the Student Center. And we did, on the poster board, it said, like, how might we improve the UGA experience? And so we had students kind of come by and put Post-it notes of, things that they thought that could improve the student experience at UGA. A lot of it was, transportation, busing, parking, those types of things. So that was kind of a precursor to choosing this event.
Awesome. Yeah, parking is always a big issue, I feel like, on every campus for students with commuters. Natalia, also feel free to jump in if you have any questions as we're talking.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I will.
Okay, great. So in designing the first and the second one, can you tell me, was there a team of people that helped you, or who the key players were in helping you execute this idea?
For both the first and the second, it was primarily me planning everything by myself. Mm-hmm. Something I would not recommend, especially, when there were just 11 students, it was fine, but when it gets to be, 30, 40 students, it gets a little harder to, have everything going on.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm sorry, I lost track of the question.
Oh, no. Well, that, if you were like flying solo trying to develop this event for students, that kind of leads me into my next one, is how you created and developed the activities they were going to participate in and the outcome, and like designing that experience.
Right. So kind of the goal was to, in addition to having this event where they can just get together and create, I also want to introduce them to the design thinking process. And so during the first event, I used, Stanford's kind of design process of developing empathy, coming up with a point of view, developing ideas, prototyping and testing. And I took them through each step and did different activities that I've, found and gathered over the years. Just trying out different activities to kind of help them get through each process. And I feel like it worked, for the most part. But for the second event, due to kind of it being more people and we were in a more flexible space where everyone kind of had their own working space and it was a giant room, it would be harder to kind of like have a lecture format. And plus, it was something I really didn't want to do. I wanted them to more so discover the design thinking process on their own. So what I did was introduced a design thinking card game where so there was like about 28 cards that had different activities on them related to design thinking. And there are different levels from 1 to 5. And the higher up you got with the levels, the more points you got and the harder that the tasks were. So there was, like level 1 was like design a logo or create a website or start a social media campaign. And then once you got up to the different higher levels, there's like design a customer survey, interview for empathy, design a rapid prototype, all the way up to kind of the higher ones where swap skills with another group to kind of encourage collaboration among the teams, even though it's a competition. Also, using a design journal to track your progress was one. And also design your own design, like sketch out your design process. So instead of giving them, like Stanford's process or another process, they had the ability to kind of create or sketch out what their actual process was, which could be different from the other processes. And on the card was a QR code. Mm-hmm. And with that, you can like scan it with your camera and you get like a website from it. And that website would have different resources for the particular task of the card. So it could be articles, it could be tools or resources that could be used to complete that task. And the highest card, level 5, was a card I called Going Viral. So throughout the event, they had to get either like 100 Facebook likes, 100 Twitter followers, or 100 YouTube views related to their project. And so I think that was a hit as well, of being able to come together and try to gather up support for their projects. And overall, I think the card game worked really well. There's changes obviously I would make to them, but I think it worked a lot better than just kind of walking them through each step.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting approach to take in the idea of a card game, because you can make that really intricate while still being really simple, and it makes it more of an activity than just discussing this process with students. And I mean, you have them doing a lot of work. So my question is, how long is this event? Is it an hour, a couple days?
Right. So one thing I wanted to add is that the incentive to get them to use the card game was that, separate from the grand prize, the team that got the most points will receive $400 in seed money.
Oh, wow.
To be able to continue on with their project. So there was, an incentive that I think also got everyone motivated to, use the cards and actually participate in the game. So as far as length, the first Thinc-a-thon was only on a Saturday, and it was maybe 7 or 8 hours.
Oh, wow.
The second Thinc-a-thon started on a Friday, and so it was like Friday at 5, and from 5 to 8 or 8:30, I kind of introduced the logistics of the event, who the mentors were, who the judges were, introducing the card game, and also they had a chance to meet with their teams, because teams were predetermined ahead of time. So I wanted to create, make sure we had interdisciplinary teams. So the format was, I wanted at least 2 technical people, 1 art and designer, and then 1 business person on each team. And so each team kind of had, each team wasn't perfectly along those lines, but that was the initial goal. And so all of that was done on the Friday. And then so they went home. There wasn't like a staying through the night. And then Saturday, starting at about 10 a.m., started the event on Saturday, and it went all the way to maybe 8:30 that night.
Oh, wow. And then it ended with the whole grand prize Saturday night?
Right. And okay. Actually, one of the feedbacks that I got in the surveys that I gave was that they felt the event wasn't long enough.
Really?
So it should have gone into Sunday.
So,
right.
Right, exactly.
Or like, midnight Saturday, all night.
Maybe you should reconsider the overnight and just have it like a 24-hour.
Yeah.
Right, and that is the idea I do have. Or it extending into Sunday would be something I would do differently.
Yeah, that's a really cool problem to have, because that's saying that number one, you've attracted really good students who want to participate, and you've engaged them for, longer than an hour with everything else that they have to do. They're consumed by this idea and participating in all these activities around design thinking and prototyping and stuff. So that's awesome. So you said at the first one you had 11, and then you had 30 to 40 students at this one. Was there something that you did differently in promoting, or what do you think it was that attracted more students this time around?
Right. So I think the grand prize was a motivating factor, which was getting funding to go to Silicon Valley. I also think I was able to, I did a better job of promoting the event and going to actually where the students, going to where the students interact with each other, which was these Facebook groups. And so so there's a groups at UGA Facebook group, and then within groups at UGA, there are specialized groups. So there's one for engineering, one for business, one for design, and then computer science. And then there are like a class of 2018 or class of 2017. And so I use those groups to promote the event. I still use a few flyers, but not as much as I did for the first event. And also getting people who control the listservs to send them out too. So in engineering, in art, and also in business. But from the surveys, go ahead.
I was going to ask, the first time you just did flyers and not as much online marketing or advertising, and then the second time you did much more online.
Right.
Okay.
So it was like flyers and listservs. This time, I think the Facebook group helped a lot. Actually from the survey, it was social media and word of mouth were the top two ways people heard about the event.
Okay.
Awesome.
And so the actual funny thing about it is that actually 70 people signed up, at least, or around 60 something people signed up. So we actually initially had a lot larger number than what it turned out to be. And there were like 16 cancellations throughout the week of people saying they couldn't come for various reasons. And then there were a lot of no-shows, at least I think like 18 no-shows. And then there were like 5 who quit like throughout, either Friday or Saturday. So the number of people who were actually initially interested and actually signed up was a lot higher than the amount that, actually got through the whole event. So while, we were able to, triple the numbers from the first event, we actually had the potential to have like a very large number. And so it's just figuring out what went wrong. Obviously people are going to, have things.
Yeah, things come up. Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. It's nice that quite a few of them, though, gave you a heads up that they weren't coming. Most people just, don't show up. But I mean, you're always going to have that of people that, have interest, but then don't follow through. And that's natural. And it's still awesome that you now tripled your attendance. So you have like 30 to 40 students now that are also, the next time you host one of these, going to be your best marketing tools as they tell all their friends and classmates about this really cool event that they participated in. So hopefully for the next time you might have, 100 signups and 60 show up. Like that would be really cool.
Yeah, but one problem it does create is when you're ordering for food, for example.
Yeah.
I think because you have to give an account, and you always like to give even 10 extra past what you expect to come, just so to make sure you don't run out of food and things like that. So the number I gave was like 60, and the number that actually came were close to 40. So you have that, 20 people gap, and that actually can turn out to be a lot of money. And while it's not my personal money, it's always good.
Oh, so it's wasteful.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you run into that issue of they may not give you as much money next time, even when you say, oh, but I have 80 people coming, they may not believe you or something like that. So
That's when you start handing out, you just go with pizzas or something and start handing out the leftover pizzas as prizes too, or something.
right, which is what we did. We wound up giving away a lot of food. We actually did have pizza on Friday night, and then Saturday was breakfast was campus catering, and then we had lunch, which were like
Awesome.
box lunches from a local bakery. Um, so yeah, so for next time, I'm trying to figure out what to do because yeah, you're gonna have people who cancel, but especially for the no shows who may just have not shown up for just for whatever reason of like. So I'm thinking about either having a low fee, like even if it's like $5.
Yeah.
But with
Yeah,
that, then
that's
you have
exactly what I was just thinking.
yeah, and so and then I can offer scholarships if people really just don't want to pay the $5. The other the other option was to do a more in-depth application process, where you sign up, but you actually say why you want to come and all of that. So it's not just as simple as clicking a register button. You may actually have to think about why you want to do this and, to be able to get people more committed to coming. So I haven't decided which one I'm going to do yet, but I may try to implement one or both of those.
I mean, just from a student perspective, and the more you have to apply to get into these things, then you start to kind of increase that barrier to entry, right? And you want people to show up. Whereas the $5 is just more of like solidifying a commitment where someone's going to be like, well, I paid $5 to go, I should go. Versus like, oh, I have to apply for this. Like, am I going to put the time and effort into all that kind of work before I even get there? So that's something to think about.
Right. Yeah. And that's really what I don't want to put up barriers.
Yeah.
But I do want people to take it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
So finding them.
Yeah, especially just with the dropping out thing. Yeah. And funding.
So in talking about all this, the food issues, where did this budget come from?
So I created a budget for the event, just based off of, how much people charge for different things. We had like a materials fee for all the different, paper prototyping that people could use and some technology as well. And I think, and, printing out flyers and I think that was it. A lot of the materials we could reuse from the first event. So at the second event, I didn't have to buy as many. Since we had a small number for the first one, we still had a lot leftover materials left over. We had like a prototyping table with like just a lot of different paper, scissors, modeling clay, Arduinos, Google Glass. Like, it was a wide range of technology that they had access to. And basically, I just submitted a budget to the vice president of research, and he approved it. Yeah.
And so that covered the food too. You didn't have to go out and like look for local restaurants to provide donations and.
Right, they covered everything. Which
awesome.
Great.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's what I wanted to get at. And so also this the trip to Silicon Valley, did that come out of this budget? So the grand prize was funding to get there. I mean, do you have an amount of what are you just paying for tickets? Are you paying for a hotel? I mean, what do the winners do when they get there? Do you have an experience set up, or what's kind of the ideas behind the trip?
Right. So one thing that I learned also through my landscape analysis is that every year the MBA students who are part of their entrepreneurship club go to Silicon Valley every year. They call them Silicon Valley Fellows. So you apply, you get accepted. I think there are like meetings beforehand before you actually go. And I think a couple of the business professors have connections in Silicon Valley. So they got to visit Google and like some of the other startups and, do different activities. And so that luckily I don't have to actually plan out that trip. All I did was collaborate with the MBA, the two MBA students who are planning it, who are over the club, and say, would you be willing to open up 3 or 4 slots for a winning team to be able to join this trip. And, they agreed to that. They got approval from whoever the business professor is that's kind of over the trip. And then I was able to get funding from the Office of Vice President of Research. We're also applying for an NCIA program grant that can hopefully help, even more teams be able to join that trip. But they've pledged the initial funding for the entire trip. So I think we estimated about $1,000 per person through, airfare and hotel and food or whatever. And so, I was very happy that they were able to, just provide that money for the winners. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's an amazing connection to have too now with the Entrepreneurship Club and that faculty advisor.
Right.
Awesome. Natalia, do you have any other questions for him?
I had a question too, so you went in kind of into detail in the budget, but I'm interested, especially because we're planning on holding something similar at NC State. It's the first time doing it, and I think it's something that we're missing a lot too, as far as getting students from different disciplines together, and even like the whole team formation and coming up with ideas and that sort of thing is definitely something we're missing. So, I mean, I'm glad I'm here talking to you now, but I'm probably going to be following up with you more and the next little bit too, because I'm interested in too in like knowing more about like the budget, like what you actually had to buy for the event and how things worked with the prototyping table and different things. So I don't know if you want to talk more about the specifics of what you got now, or it'd be easier if you wouldn't mind sharing it with me. And so that was one question that I had. And then can you answer that question before we move on to the next one?
So,
sorry.
So we literally put like 3 tables together and just put a lot of stuff on them.
Okay, just like construction paper, scissors,
right.
Like the twisty, what are they called? The pipe cleaners.
Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think what they called materials to design at the speed of thought. So how quickly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, how quickly you can think about it, you can put it together. So cardboard. I also, lots and lots of Post-it notes. I kind of like those large Post-it pads, the large ones that you can just put on the wall.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and
so kind of like if you didn't have a whiteboard to write on.
Right.
Like you can just put them on the wall, and then too, like there is like a whiteboard you erase that you have to keep. So.
Right. A cool thing where we had it is that at our main library, they built on the 4th floor this cool study space, and so it's like a flexible space where you can like write on the walls, and
awesome.
They have whiteboards and things like that, and they actually reserved the space just for us. They don't normally do this, but they liked the event that I wanted to do, and so they reserved the whole 4th floor space. So they had a lot of innovative space that you think of when you think of how the D school looks and things like that. So that kind of helped a lot with providing ideation spaces for the students. And so, just basic paper type things. And also, because we have engineers, I was able to get like, Arduinos and, a lot of the electronics type things. Like I had access to a Google Glass, just my personal Google Glass.
Yeah. That's a cool idea.
I was able to connect with the College of Engineering and a PhD student there who has, in their lab, they have a 3D printer. And so not only did, one thing I forgot to mention is that throughout the Saturday, not only were they working on their projects, but they were also what I call pop-up classes that were optional to go to. So, the idea wouldn't be that everyone wouldn't stop and then go to a class. It would be, you might send 1 or 2 of your team members to like learn from the pop-up class, except for the one in the morning. So in the morning, we did a mindfulness session taught by a guy who was trained by the Search Inside Yourself Google meditation program that
Oh,
they
cool.
have. And so that's how we
That sounds
started the
awesome.
morning. Yeah, that's how we started the morning on Saturday. But then right around lunch, we had a how to pitch class, which was taught by the guy who's over the local incubator here.
Hmm.
And then right after that, we had a prototyping class with the PhD student who brought his 3D printer and kind of taught about the 3D printer and how to use it. And then after that, he brought the 3D printer to the main space to let people print out small things that they wanted to.
Yeah, it takes a long time sometimes, so you could spend the whole Saturday printing out
Right.
something if it was really
Yeah. So
something
it
like
had to be
that.
small. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
One cool thing we'll be able to do for the next event is I'm actually in the process of working with the vice president of research and the head of libraries to build a maker space in the science library. And so we'll
Okay.
have like 2 3D printers and a laser cutter and a lot of other things
Yeah.
that I could then integrate within the next event, so where they can use these kind of high tech tools.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we have a garage space um where we are that has stuff like a 3D printer and laser cutter, but I don't think when we put on the event, it's not it doesn't have a big open space to really work in. So I don't think we're going to host it there, but I don't we're trying to still think about too how it could be like people could still be able wherever we're having it actually, people can still easily get to the garage to use the resources
Yeah.
there and everything. So how did you wrap up the event? Was it just people had to do a pitch at the end? And who decided who won the grand prize and that sort of thing?
Right. So the library actually closed at 7, so we had to at 6:30 was kind of when everyone finished,
Yeah.
you know, creating things, and so we had to move over to the College of Business area, and we just got a classroom there, and that's where everyone did their presentation. So it was, each team got to do a 5-minute presentation, and the judges could ask questions for 2 minutes, and it was a very strict 5 minutes. I had the timer holding it up, and kind of
Yeah.
ended.
Like if they're mid-sentence at the 5 minutes, they're done.
Right. Because especially with a lot of teams, it could just, it's
Yeah.
already going to take an hour and a half
Mm-hmm.
to be able to get through every team. So, and the judges were actually two of the people who did the pop-up classes. So the guy who part of the incubator, the
Hmm.
local incubator, and also the PhD guy in engineering. We actually had two PhDs. One was from engineering, and the other does creative technologies and business. And then we had a lady who was she created a maker space here, like a local maker space
Hmm.
here in town. So we had, and also a lady who is the part of the MBA entrepreneurship club. So she's one of the ones organizing the trip.
Okay.
So
That
it
makes
was
sense.
five, yeah, so five judges. I gave them criteria. I kind of borrowed from a startup weekend. So it's like business validation. What else? Technical, how much of a prototype did they create? Design and did I say customer validation? Customer validation was
Yeah.
the other one too. So business, customer validation, the technical part of it, and design. And so I gave them like rating sheets, and so they were able to leave feedback as well. So we were able to give each team the feedback from the judges, which I think was nice. But
Hmm.
then we kind of went outside of the room to kind of just talk about who everyone thought was the best idea. And luckily, in this case, everyone had a mutual consensus of one idea that they felt should win. So that kind of helped move the process along. There wasn't a
Yeah.
lot
What idea was that? I'm just curious. Which one
yeah.
was the winning idea? What was the winning idea?
So the winning idea was a product called Pedal, and so they created this device that you could put on your bike and then rent your bike out. So like, I don't know if you know, like U-Car, those car shares where
Yeah.
you can like rent out the car right there just using your app and the device on the car. So they
Okay.
constructed something like that, but for bikes.
Okay. Do you know
Cool.
if they're going to continue working on it, or
Yeah, so
if
that
they're
that
just
was yeah. So with the Silicon Valley trip, they also received a 4-month free membership to the new student incubator, which was started by the same people who are
okay?
over the Silicon Valley trip. And so through those
Okay.
two um, resources, we hope to highly encourage them to keep going. There was a runner-up idea who also won the card game. They called it Park It. So it was an app that could tell you how many spaces were left in the parking garages. So they would use a sensor
Mhm.
kind of at the entrance to track cars going in and cars coming out. And through that, the app could give you a live update of how many spaces were left in each parking garage, which is important, especially with like football games, and we have a lot of people on
Yeah.
campus. So I thought
Oh yeah,
great
parking
idea
on
as well.
university campuses, like Katie said before, it's just notoriously bad. Like it's,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's interesting though the one that you said that won with the bike, because there's a student that at NC State, and he's kind of right now he's just doing a bike share program kind of just for NC State's campus with we have this program called Wolf Wheels where students can rent out bikes for the semester, and he collaborated with them to have it so you could like sign up for membership and then rides the bike around kind of like city bikes or something like that. But his idea too is to kind of
Mhm.
develop into something more like that. So I kind of later maybe we could talk about like connecting those two people because maybe they could collaborate a little bit, just bounce some ideas off each other.
Right.
So but we could do that. That's kind of like a little bit of a offshoot, but that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, definitely. It's a cool idea. Um, okay, is it okay if I ask a couple more questions? We
Yeah.
definitely are more over
Well,
the
I mean, I'm
30-minute mark,
okay.
but
I guess if Greg still
yeah.
has time, I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
go for
fine.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't keep you past two, definitely for sure, because I still have some stuff I need to work on too. But one of the other questions I had is, so when you were so you've planned this event twice, and what did you kind of learn from the first one to the second one about organizing it? I guess there was the one thing you talked about, the way you advertised it differently, so it got out to more students. How did you do registration for it? Was that just a Google form or something like that? Or
I used Eventbrite.
okay,
Have you heard of
okay.
that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
use that. A lot of people use that here too. So, okay. Yeah, because I think you can do it too, that they have to input more
Hmm.
information when they register. Okay.
Right.
Um, and then what was there anything else? I kind of, because kind of leading up to like before, besides actually planning what you're going to do for the event, I guess the major things are like you have a time and a place, a budget to buy all of this stuff, um, advertising for the event, getting students to register. There any other
Yeah.
big things that I'm missing
Um,
or
one thing I also like, there's so many aspects I think I forgot
yeah,
to
there
mention
are.
is that with the second one, we had mentors.
Okay.
So we had one guy is a visiting professor here, and he's in art education. He specializes in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math, and video game design. So he was the
Hmm.
only physical mentor who actually went around to the teams. We
Yeah.
actually had two more. We actually were supposed to have three, but one lady, her son was sick, so we had two alumni who one works for Google
Uh-huh.
in their marketing and strategy, and then another one she was actually in Milan, so it was like a big time difference. But
Wow.
um, she also started her own social entrepreneurship company, and they're both alumni, and so we use Google Hangout to be able to.
Okay.
Each team could sign up for a 15-minute slot with the two who were through Google Hangout, and
Hmm.
be able to ask questions, share their idea, and the team seemed to really like that. I think there was validation from the fact that, it's someone who works at Google and someone who started their own business, so they, know what they're talking about and can give good advice. And I think the idea of being able to use Google Hangout means you can kind of get people from anywhere, that just has a couple of hours to spare, but you don't have to worry about flying them in and,
No,
kind of
that's perfect.
One
And the
thing
students seem to think it worked well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's a problem I had to figure out. You can't have more than one Google Hangout going on at one time. So I was planning on just using my account and inviting people, but we kind of had there was an issue with that. And so I had to go to each team's computer and kind of set up. It worked out in the end, but, for the next one, I'll be able to maybe just have a station where your team comes to that station and connects.
Oh, I see. And then there would just be one at a time then, even if there's two mentors available at the same time, you just kind of gotta, okay.
Yeah. Another advice would be to contact mentors and any speakers or anyone who you would have just earlier. Like I didn't get the idea to have mentors until like three weeks before. And I wanted to connect with the director of innovation and entrepreneurship at Coca-Cola, but he wasn't available for that Saturday. But I feel like if I had contacted him maybe 3 months ahead of time, he probably would have had an open space, open availability to be able to do it. So contacting people earlier would be a thing I would use for the next time.
Okay. And are there any, or okay, you can ask. I've asked a lot of questions.
No, I mean, I was just gonna go because you talk about like the survey and then you gave the judges like a rubric, and I know that you're a PhD candidate, so you're coming from like a broader perspective of building these kinds of tools for these events. So do you have advice for undergrads that would want to build in this, even if it's a beforehand survey to gauge interest or an after to see how well they liked it, how well they did, and how you kind of approached giving these judges like a rubric for the winners?
As far as the rubric, use resources that are already out there. Like I just basically modified the rubric they use for Startup Weekend because it's a similar event. And so they have those resources out there. You just have to kind of find them. As far as survey, there were particular things I wanted to find out related to my research, but other things I asked was it their first time attending the event? Did they think the event was useful, helpful? What tools would have enhanced the experience? I asked kind of what was the most memorable part of the event? What was the most inspirational part of the event? Would you attend again? Of course, is a big one. Different things like that. So, don't make it too long because, students don't like to fill out long surveys. And also, like I'm actually today at 2:30 have an interview, and I have a couple of interviews next week with people who have attended the event, so I can get even more kind of feedback and data from.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's your research too. So like you're very thorough about it, which I so appreciate. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And we decided that we were gonna like go and like look online for things about like people who put on events and like the feedback that they have and advice for putting them on. And like this is more than I could have ever asked for. So this is awesome.
Yeah, and I have I have like a whole digital notebook of like resources and different activities and tools and resources that you could potentially use. So I can definitely just send that to you and probably.
Oh my gosh, you're like my savior. But much in this instance, in putting on a Thinc-a-thon, like this is awesome.
Cool.
Okay, I think just the only other question that I had was were there any other big things that like you noticed that you talked about, like people dropping out and that being a problem with food? Any other big things that kind of stood out like that? Or did we kind of cover all of it?
Yeah, I think that was pretty much it. I guess that was the only drawback or biggest issue. Everything else, surprisingly for me to be doing it mostly by myself, it went pretty smoothly. as far as the schedule, we didn't get behind, and like each pop-up class happened when they were supposed to, and we didn't have any technical issues or anything.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, this sounds like it was an awesome experience, and it went really well, and you took away a lot of key learnings from it to better it for next time.
right. Next time, so I'm planning a third one for February, and I haven't announced it yet, but I think it's going to involve something regarding food. Like you either can like make new recipes or something like that, or technology related to food, or
Oh, that's cool. Everybody loves food, so
yeah.
I think you got a good topic there.
Right, and another idea I have is moving it to the conference center here, which has like hotel rooms and things like that, if I can get funding for it, and then maybe I can provide a more immersive experience where you don't actually go home. So, we can have people can work later, and there can be events later, and so that's my idea I have. I just have to see.
We were thinking of doing ours for like 24 hours or something like that, and trying like to get Red Bull to sponsor it. Or there's also, have you heard of Insomnia Cookies, that like they deliver cookies to like 3 o'clock in the morning? But we're not sure yet too about like the timing and stuff.
We've actually another department did a I think it was a 48 hour, was it 48 hours or 20, something like that, where it went overnight. They just did it, and they it was the New Media Institute, and they just did it in the building. And like when I went to give a presentation like the next morning from when they started, and everyone was just like super tired and falling asleep and stuff.
Yeah. I guess that's the hard part, is like if you don't have a good place to go to sleep, then while like sure people are there like working on things, in some ways they're like not as engaged as if like maybe they still went home Friday and Saturday night, but you extended it until Sunday or something like that. Yeah, that's something to think about. Okay.
Yeah. Have you now that you've had so many students come through it, have you gotten any interest from any of the participants to join like the planning team?
That would have actually been great, but no one has contacted me about it. But I do. People who are interested in entrepreneurship and innovation in general have been contacting me, asking me how can they get more involved. So
great.
You should take advantage of that.
Because like maybe make it a question on the survey next time is like, if you're interested in joining the planning team, like leave your email address or something.
Yeah. Because too, if you want it, like it sounds like it's something that can really stay like a long time, and so eventually somebody else is gonna have to plan it. Like, and like maybe you plan on being there for the rest of your life. I don't know, but maybe not. So to get other people. I mean, just for the help too, because I know like I'm planning it with a group of students, and I can't imagine doing it by myself. So that's so impressive too, that how successful it's been, just you.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's going to keep growing too. So that's why I asked. So the more support, the more support you have, the better. And it's awesome that you have the VP of research and some faculty behind you.
Right. Yeah. I still have my goal. My goal has always been 100 students. And so I really hope with the next one that I can achieve that, because that'll be the last one maybe before I graduate. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. That will be awesome.
Are you graduating in the spring?
Hopefully, and either in May or in August.
Wow, that's so exciting too. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is. I have faith in you to do it. I think you can hit 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. This digital notebook that you were talking about, do you mind sharing that with the Fellows Network?
Yeah, I can post it on Facebook or
or if you want to upload it into the shared drive that we started a few months ago. Do you have access to that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think I do either, but I think that can.
Okay, well, because I sent out like the access through the Google group, and so I'm wondering if I need to do it individually. But yeah, if we could put it there and kind of start this like shared drive of resources as you guys create all these events, I think that'd be really cool for everybody to have access to how you did it and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. I have one last question that kind of diverts from your Thinc-a-thon, but you had posted in the Facebook group the other day about that letter from David Lee. And so you're obviously, as a fellow, gaining a lot of attention on campus. Can you kind of tell us how that came about?
Well, so over the summer, I met with David Lee because I guess he had heard about the Innovation Fellowship. I guess maybe he was interested in maybe other people doing it and didn't realize I was already a fellow. And so when we met, I kind of told him what I was doing, and I presented like this landscape of where I saw Think going and like the different types of things we could do. And at that point, I had a research assistantship. So like he had asked if I wanted to come work in his office, but I had already had an assistantship. Mm-hmm. But a funny thing happened is that like a month later, the professor over my assistantship left to go to another university and ended my fellowship was going
yeah,
it was gonna end over the summer. And so then I contacted him again, and we met, and I told him about some of the things I could do, and so he hired me. And so since then, now that I'm working in the actual office of vice president of research, it's been very helpful with he basically just approves things, and then I have to work with others to get the money and spend it or whatever. But yeah, that was the first time that was a $12,000 budget for a makerspace, and he's just like, okay, work with so and so to spend the money, and like I've never been in charge of that much money. It's just weird. You're always expecting people to say, "Oh, that's too much," and can you get it cheaper? Can you get free or sponsors or things like that? So to get someone who's just like, we believe in what you want to do, because I had to write up, here are the tools, so you had to go on a lot of faith that I know what I'm talking about and have done their research and stuff. So it was kind of like validation, I guess, that I'm doing the right things, I guess.
That's amazing. That's because there are 12 are they undergraduate students in that office too, or what is that all about? Because I know we're starting to get quite a few applications from UGA to join you.
So yeah, they're kind of the Council of Student Economic Engagement. So now they're kind of co-sponsored between the Vice President for Office of Vice President of Research and also the Vice President of Public Service and Outreach. So it's kind of like a joint appointment. So they'll actually also be helping with Think and doing events and helping me with my event. So, they're definitely open to, student involvement and students creating things. So I think that's helpful. I know you don't get that everywhere. So, it's a very lucky and fortunate situation. So,
I know, but imagine you've been 2 or 3 years now at UGA as the solo fellow, and now all of a sudden you might have up to 12.
Right.
That's gonna be awesome.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Greg, thank you so much for taking your time this afternoon to chat with Natalia and I about your Thinc-a-thons. They sound like they have a lot of momentum, and I hope that you hit your goal for 100 by May or August, whenever you graduate, and I have a lot of faith in you to do so. And congratulations on, the $12,000 check for a makerspace. That's phenomenal news.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for listening.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll talk to you guys again soon. You guys have a great afternoon.
Okay. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Bye.